And it looks like we have several people already in. So I want to go ahead and get started because I do want to be mindful of your time. We do appreciate that you took the time to log on with us this morning and learn some about dual enrollment, some of the new scholarships that we have. And also our recruiters are here and we'll be speaking a little bit about just the admissions process and what is available for first-time freshmen who come from your high school and graduate and come to Jeff State. But before we get started, I'm going to ask Dr. Hobbs, who is our Vice President of Student Affairs, if he will just welcome everyone. Dr. Hobbs.
Yes, thank you, Pam. It's a great pleasure today to welcome everyone. And I recognize some of the names. Being a recruiter back in the 90s and in the early 2000s, being in the high schools and the K-12 function is very important to me. I'm also an elected school board member for St. Clair County. And so I know how important dual enrollment is and how many opportunities that it opens for our students. And just to give you a little history of Jeff State and dual enrollment, we started dual enrollment back in 1998. Our first class was at Hewitt-Trussville High School and it had 20 students in it. Currently this semester, and Pam, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe we have over 2,200 students in dual enrollment, which is 1/4 of our student population. And so many of those students are receiving scholarships or grants or funds to pay for those dual enrollment classes. My own daughter has, I think, 27 hours and she's a senior this year. So she will have completed her freshman year of college while she's still at home and kind of under our guidance. Dual enrollment is passionate for me. I'm passionate about it. I started the dual enrollment program. I wrote my dissertation on dual enrollment versus AP. And I'm so glad to say that for the first time ever at Jefferson State, we have the best and most expanded dual enrollment office or department that we have ever had. Most of you have met Pam Kelly and know that she's outstanding. We have just hired almost her duplicate partner in crime in Greta Green. I think you will love her as much as you do Pam. Those two just seem to go together like peanut butter and jelly. I just love seeing them work together. And I think you will find that if you reach out to them, they will be immediately back with you. Of all of our employees in the Student Affairs Division, Pam and Greta are in the top 1%. And I'm so excited that they are in our dual enrollment team, along with Tyann Lindell, who is handling the academic portion of it and making sure that we're following SACS guidelines and that we're following 8 guidelines, and then also the K-12 guidelines of what you need to be covered in your courses. And then also we have Amber Howard, who is our dual enrollment processor. And so 3 years ago, we had 1 person doing dual enrollment. 3 years later, we have 4 with dual enrollment, plus our recruiters, Sonia and Kiana work with it, and Jacob as well. And then I think most of you, if you're in the Pell City area, are familiar with Nick Ken, in the Clanton area, Ashley Kitchens. So I say all that to say that we are here to support dual enrollment. We are here to put more into dual enrollment than we have ever put into it. The state legislation granted us over $10 million last year to spend on scholarships and other grants. We're asking for an additional $3 million to go along with that. We had a luncheon with all of our state legislators yesterday at our Shelby campus, and every other question was about dual enrollment. So I see more money coming into that program, but we're going to take it a step further, and I'm sure Pam has this on her agenda, but we're going to give them scholarships after they graduate. We want them to come here and finish that credential. They don't finish it in high school, but we want them to finish that credential or that degree at Jeff State after they graduate high school or during the summers or even after they go into a 4-year university. So we're offering dual enrollment scholarships. We've also increased the career tech scholarship. So each one of you will get a gen ed scholarship like you've always gotten, but now you will also receive a career tech scholarship for another student. And if you ever need an extra scholarship, you know, you can always reach out to us and we'll do everything that we can So on behalf of the president of Jeff State Community College, Keith Brown, myself, our dual enrollment staff, our recruiters, we welcome you to this Zoom meeting. We want to do an on-campus meeting, bring you in, feed you a nice lunch, and have some door prizes and some great stuff like that. But we just didn't want to wait to get the information out. We will try to have something in the early spring. Please feel free to reach out to me, but I think you're in great hands. And if you have other questions other than dual enrollment, there's other people on this Zoom call today that should be able to answer those questions. As most of you know, the SACS conference started today at 10 o'clock at the same time. So I'm going to have to leave this Zoom meeting and jump on the SACS COC Zoom meeting. So I apologize for not being able to stay around. But was there any questions for me before I jumped off? Nope. All right. Well, fantastic. Like I said, I know some of you already just from my days in recruiting. I'm still here if you need help or support, but I really do think you're in great hands with Jacob and his department and Pam and her department as well. So have a great afternoon.
You're muted, Pam.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Hobbs, for that. Welcome. And now we're going to go ahead and get started. Because we have a larger number on the call, we're going to ask that if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask, but if you will, put those in the chat. We do have staff members from dual enrollment, the recruiting staff. Of course, all of you have seen that Jacob Call is on here and he can answer most anything. So if you will just make sure and ask those questions in the chat, that would be great. Also, if any of my co-hosts from Jeff State are on here who can admit people in from the waiting room, that would be great. And so we have people on chat. So as I said, don't hesitate to ask any questions just during the middle of the presentation as it comes up. Ask it. Anybody who sees one on the chat, just let me know if I need to stop and clarify something. But we will go ahead and get started, and we're going to start out with some information about dual enrollment. Some of this first bits of information should be familiar to you, so I plan to go over it very quickly. But again, if you have questions or need us to elaborate, don't hesitate to ask. And I'm going to turn my video off while I present. So of course, to be eligible to participate in dual enrollment, a student must be in the 10th, 11th, or 12th grade. And for eligibility purposes, the 10th grade is considered the fall of the sophomore year. Students must also have a 2.5 cumulative unweighted GPA on a 4.0 scale. That is the minimum GPA requirement for Jeff State. I know some of our high schools have a requirement of a higher GPA. We have some that have a 2.75 and some require a 3.0. We will certainly honor what you want, but it just can't go below the 2.5 cumulative unweighted. There are different courses. Dr. Hobbs mentioned this. There's transfer general studies courses. The most popular among dual enrollment students are math, English, psychology, speech, and history. And then there are also career tech programs. And the most popular of the career tech programs are child development, computer information systems, EMT, which is available to seniors only, and those seniors must be 17 by the time the clinical rotations start, manufacturing technology, and office administration technology. Of course, we do not limit what students take through dual enrollment, so these are just a sampling, but students can take any class through dual enrollment for which they meet the prerequisite requirement. We just gave you some of the most popular transfer courses. And then the reason those 5 career tech programs are the most popular is because of the scholarship that is attached to those programs. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. We do require that students place into math and English classes. So if they're taking their first math or English class, they do have to place into that class based on either ACT score or AccuPlacer score. So if you have a student who has not taken the ACT, or their ACT score does not meet the placement requirement for the class that they want to take, that student can take the AccuPlacer test. Now, those had been being administered online due to COVID. However, beginning in December, AccuPlacer moved back to on-campus testing. Over on the right side of your screen, you will see the testing times and the schedules for each campus. So make sure that you grab that. If you need to take a picture of that, also we will, like I said, send out a copy of this recording, so you'll have it that way. Students do not have to register for the test. They can show up for the test. They do need to bring their photo ID. It needs to be a driver's license permit. And then they need to know their A number. If a student does not know their A number, they can email dualenrollment@jeffersonstate.edu and we can help them get that information. Also, there are test prep materials available through the Learning Success Center. So if you have a student who is needing to do some prep work before taking the AccuPlacer, then they can use some of those test prep through the Learning Success Center. They do have to have already completed the online application to get access to those test prep resources. The other thing I want to mention about the AccuPlacer is that this test is not timed. So if you have a student who gets stressed taking a time test such as the ACT, they might find that this is a better fit having an untimed test and only having to do the math portion or the English portion, depending on which class they're registering in. So when we talk about eligibility, we look at what a student has to have just to meet the qualifications for enrolling. But I think that really to be successful in dual enrollment, you have to look beyond eligibility and really ask about each student who's requesting to take dual enrollment classes. Is the student ready? So some of the things that we have identified, some questions you might ask about these students. Does the student accept personal responsibility for organizing work and meeting deadlines? I'm sure you all are aware these are college classes. They are not going to get maybe as many reminders about deadlines. So they do need to be responsible for meeting those deadlines. Another question is, does the student regularly monitor email and class announcements? This is especially true for students who are taking classes on a Jeff State campus or online. Those instructors are going to rely heavily on Jeff State email and Blackboard announcements and messaging to communicate with students. And students are going to have to check that. We recommend they check it daily, at least Monday through Friday, for class announcements, either through Blackboard or email. Is the student a self-advocate? So in a dual enrollment course, the student is going to need to work directly with the instructor if the student is having difficulty. The parent is not going to be able to step in on behalf of the student. Our office, our dual enrollment office, can certainly assist with any issues, if a student is having difficulty, but we really want to teach the student how to be a good self-advocate so that they will be ready when they are out of high school and full-time college students. Students also need to have effective study skills and time management skills. These classes, we do tell them to anticipate the classes being more difficult than what they're taking at the high school. So they need to know how to study. Also, they're going to need to know how to manage their time and juggle their school responsibilities with their extracurricular activities, and all of that. So definitely those two things are important. And then a last question is, does the student even have sufficient time for studying outside of class? We know that high school students are busy. Some of them are heavily involved in extracurricular activities. Some have jobs. So we want this to be a positive experience for students, but they are going to need time to dedicate to these classes outside of the class meeting times. So if a student meets the eligibility requirements, the student is ready to take on a college course, then they're ready to start the admission and registration process. The first step is to complete the online application. And one thing we want to mention about this application, at the very end of the application, the student is able to provide a parent's email address and give us permission to share their registration information, their tuition and fees, that kind of information with the parent. Due to FERPA rules with dual enrollment students, that is stuff that we typically do not share with parents. So we do have to get the students' permission, and students can give us permission on that last page of the application. Not many students take advantage of this, but we would like for you as counselors, as you help students with this application process, please encourage them to provide their parents' email address on that last section. That's not going to allow their parents to get information about their grades or their progress in the class. It's simply to let the parent know what the student is registered for and how to pay the student's bill. I mean, that's going to be very helpful. We get a lot of parents who sometimes are frustrated because all of the communication has gone to their student and their student hasn't checked their email. So if you can help us promote that, including the parent email address, that would be great. The Jeff State online application for dual enrollment can be found at jeffersonstate.edu/DE application. We'll get all of that information out to you so you don't have to remember that or write it down. Students also need to submit a signature page. This page will list the classes the student wants to take, and it must be signed by the student, a parent or guardian, and the high school counselor. Those signature pages can be accessed at jeffersonstate.edu/DE signature. The third requirement is that the students submit a high school transcript that shows their cumulative GPA. We use this to verify that the student does meet that minimum GPA requirement of 2.5 unweighted. They also will need to submit an unexpired photo ID, such as a permit, license, passport, or if your student has not gotten the permit yet, they can use a state-issued ID. And finally, we talked a little bit about placement test scores if the student is registering for English or math. If your student is not registering for English or math, there are no test score requirements for dual enrollment. Tuition and fees for spring and summer of 2022 are the same that they were for the fall semester. So if the course is being taught at the high school, the course fees, tuition and fees are $152 per credit hour. Any course being taught at Jeff State or online, tuition and fees are $164 per credit hour. Most of our courses are 3 credit hours. So a 3 credit hour course taught at the high school is $456, and a 3 credit hour class taught at Jeff State or online is $492. We do not have the tuition and fee information for fall of 2022 yet, but we will share that with you as soon as we receive it. We talked about those 5 programs that are eligible for the CTE scholarship. That CTE scholarship is funded by the Alabama State Legislature. That is what Dr. Hobbs was talking about in his welcome. And students must stay in a CTE program to continue to receive funding, and they must stay in one of the eligible programs. We have several career tech programs that students can participate in, even ones outside of these 5 that are listed here. But if a student chooses to participate in one not listed here, they will be responsible for paying the tuition fees and textbooks. But this scholarship covers tuition fees and textbooks for the majority of the classes in these degree programs. There are a few classes such as the fine arts, speech, some of those that are not covered under the program, but we can certainly help you if you have a student who is interested in one of these programs. The programs here that are in purple, Child Development, Computer Information Systems, and Office Administration Technology, can all be completed 100% online. I will say that with the Child Development program, each course requires 20 observation hours. So even though the coursework is completed online, all of the lecture stuff is online, those students do have to go into a center to complete those observation hours. The EMT program and the manufacturing and technology programs do require that students participate on campus, either at the high school campus, if that program is available, or on one of our campuses. It's kind of hard to do those programs without having a hands-on aspect to that. So some people may ask, why would you even do CTE? And these are just some of the things that we think are important to know. It's a hands-on degree pathway that prepares students for careers. All of these programs lead to an AAS degree, which will allow that student to go directly into the workforce. It also allows students to receive a credential even while they're still in high school. So these programs, most of them have a short certificate option, a certificate option, and then the AAS degree option. And it is not unheard of for a student to receive one of the certificates. We actually have someone who will be graduating this year who will receive 3 certificates in the office administration area. This student went through and completed certificates in all 3 track options of office administration. High school students who are involved in CTE are more engaged, and they do perform better and graduate at higher rates. And then the CTE programs, especially the ones that are part of the scholarship program, they do address the needs of high growth industries and help close the skills gap and get those students prepared to go into the industry. And they do offer, those programs lead to industry recognized credentials. The STEM scholarship is a new scholarship. Many of you, hopefully you received an email from me over the summer letting you know about this new scholarship opportunity, but it was kind of late in the summer. I think we found out about it around the 3rd week in July, and I know that many of you had already worked with your students and spent hours and hours getting their schedules figured out. And I know it was difficult to make any changes at the time that we learned of the scholarship, but I do hope that you will keep this in mind for your students as you look at what they're doing next year and as course selection starts after Christmas. So the STEM scholarship covers tuition, fees, and textbooks. And the classes that are eligible for the scholarship are the classes that are level 100 or higher in those areas listed there. So astronomy, biology, chemistry, physical science, physics, math, and computer science. All those classes in those areas level 100 or higher are eligible for the STEM scholarship. One thing I do want to mention, I know for the fall, we had the requirement of students to complete the CTE scholarship application. that became a barrier to students. They had difficulty logging in and accessing the application. So we have taken that requirement away. There is no application at this time for either the CTE scholarship or the STEM scholarship. So if you have a student who registers for an eligible class, we will automatically put them on that scholarship for the first semester. After that, the student earns the scholarship semester by semester by completing all dual enrollment classes with a grade of C or higher. So we have a lot of students who start in a class and then need to discontinue the class for one reason or another. And there are 3 ways to discontinue the class. You can drop a class, you can withdraw from a class, or you can ask your instructor for a withdrawal passing. And I'm going to go over each of these in detail just so that you understand the terminology that we're using on the college side. So first, let's look at what it means to drop a class and when you can drop a class. Students can drop a class anytime during the registration period, so up until the first day of class, but also during the drop add period. So this period ends within the first 3 to 4 days of a semester. When students drop a class, the class does not appear on the college transcript. So again, doesn't appear on the college transcript, but it does have to be done very early in the semester. Once that drop add period is over, students have the option to withdraw from a class. When students withdraw from a class, they need to complete a withdrawal form, and we can send you that form. They can withdraw from a class anytime from the end of the drop add period to the automatic W deadline, which is around midterm. Any class that a student withdraws from does appear on the transcript, and they have a grade of W. A withdrawal does not impact a student's GPA, but it does impact their attempted hours and their earned hours. Students who withdraw from a class must sit out 1 term, not including the summer term, and then they can reapply to the dual enrollment program if they want to continue in the program. So there is a penalty for students to withdraw from a dual enrollment course, and that's that sitting out 1 semester. Now, after the automatic W period, students can still receive a withdrawal passing, but they have to have the permission of their instructor. So their instructor does have to sign off on this. This is designed for students who are passing at the time that they withdraw. And most of the time, this is students who are passing the class and are experiencing some kind of circumstances that are just beyond their control, such as having to be hospitalized, or if they get in a car wreck, just something like that. So they are passing the class, but they are needing to withdraw from the class after the automatic W period. That needs to be done. The withdrawal passing needs to be requested anytime from the day after the automatic W deadline until the week of finals. It does require the instructor's approval, so we will send a form that looks very similar to the withdrawal form, and there will be a place for the instructor to sign that form. The class will appear on the college transcript with a grade of WP, and it will, just like the withdrawal, it will impact attempted hours and earned hours, but will not impact GPA. Again, if a student withdraws after the automatic W period, the student must sit out 1 term, not including summer, and then they can reapply to the dual enrollment program after that. A few things to remember. The grades that students make in dual enrollment classes are the beginning of their college GPA. All the grades are on the college transcript and will stay on the college transcript forever. Students do need to be mature and disciplined in order to be successful in dual enrollment courses. Any chance that you get to encourage your students to communicate early and often with their instructors, especially if they are having problems in class, please encourage them to do so. Even if they're not comfortable with speaking with their instructor, if they can speak with you, we can help them if they need help drafting an email to communicate with their instructor. But again, they're the ones who are going to need to communicate with the instructor. The last thing I want to mention is that we do have an early alert. It's an academic alert that we send out to instructors to inquire about the progress of dual enrollment students. We started this last spring. It's been a good thing for us. It allows us to know earlier in the semester if a student is at risk of earning a D, an F, or even if a student needs to withdraw from a class. But that academic alert is voluntary. Instructors are not required to participate in that. The best way for a counselor or a parent to know how the student is doing in class is to ask the student to log into their Blackboard and let you look at their grade information. And then make sure that you understand how the instructor is posting the grades, because some post differently. So just make sure you understand what you're looking at. And a lot of that information can be found in the syllabus. We do have some important dates for spring that we want to make sure you're aware of. Of course, registration is ongoing. If you have students who want to register for classes for spring, it is not too late. Go ahead and get all those admission and registration steps completed, and we will be happy to help you in any way that we can. December 24th through January the 1st, the college is closed. We are open on December 30th, but I will tell you not many people are on campus. So I would just assume that from December 24th to January 1st, college is closed. January 4th, we will do a student orientation for dual enrollment students at 6 p.m. and this will be done via Zoom. We will send an email out to all students, and all of our emails will go to their Jeff State email address, but it will also go to this orientation reminder or invitation will also be sent to the email address that they used on their application. January the 7th is the first official day of classes. January 7th through the 13th is the drop add period. So we were talking about that drop add period. If the student wants to drop a course, they need to do that by the 13th. On January the 14th, their schedules are set. January 17th, the college is going to be closed for Martin Luther King Jr. March 28th through April the 1st, the college is closed for spring break. April the 4th is the last day to withdraw without having to get instructor permission. And May 2nd through 6th are final exams. We've started doing open Zoom sessions at the beginning of a semester. We found that the best way to help students is to help them early. So any students who are having problems with Blackboard, they can't find a syllabus, they don't know how to use their access code, anything like that. We want to make sure we address those things early in the semester. So on January the 6th, we will have an open Zoom session from 7 to 9 p.m. for students. They can drop in and ask any questions. January the 7th, we are going to have an open Zoom session for counselors. This is going to be the first semester that we've done one specifically for counselors. It's going to be from 9 a.m. to noon. So any questions that you have, maybe some students have come to you and asked something, you can just hop on and ask those questions, and our staff will be there to help you and help your students. through you. And then January 10th, we'll do another one for students from 7 to 10 p.m. January 11th, we'll have a Zoom for students from 7 to 9. January the 13th, another Zoom for students from 7 to 10 p.m. Counselors, you are welcome to hop on to a student session if you need to. We just wanted to make sure we had one specifically for you. That way, if there is a long line in the waiting room of students, you don't get stuck in that line. But we do please encourage your students to take advantage of this. If they don't know how to check their email, like I said, most of the questions are probably going to be about Blackboard, logging in to Blackboard and getting access codes set up. But please encourage your students to take advantage of this. We will send this information out to you closer to the beginning of the semester, but we will also send it out to all of the students to their Jeff State email and to the email address that they provided on their application. Dr. Hobbs mentioned the benefits of participating in dual enrollment and then coming to Jeff State to start their full-time college career. This is information from this past year, but we anticipate this being the same. So we had 50 half tuition and fees scholarships that could be awarded to high school seniors who have displayed outstanding academic performance in the Jeff State dual enrollment program. So again, the students must have a GPA of 3.0 or higher. There is an ACT requirement of 20 or higher, and the students must have successfully completed 6 or more credit hours in dual enrollment at Jeff State. Successfully completed means completed with a grade of C or higher. And then there's some information there on how to apply, but you will be getting some of this information this year as well when they send out all of the scholarship information. Tyann Lindell is going to come on and give us some information and share some information with you. Most of this has been general information or really kind of geared toward the spring semester, but we're working in so many, we're wrapping up fall, we're working on spring, but we're also looking at the next academic year. And so Tyann, if you will come on and share some of the information that you have for counselors and some of the things that you will need from them to get prepared for the next academic year.
I sure will. Good morning, everyone. I know it's hard to think about fall of 2022 when you're wrapping up fall of 2021. I understand that, but there are some things we need to know early so that we can provide or attempt to provide instructors or go through processes that we need to do for our accreditation through SAC COC if you want to add courses or expand programs on your campus. So if you are wanting to have your instructors that haven't taught before, if you want to have them assessed to see if they can teach on your campus, please send their transcripts to me, and I will work with our Vice President for Academic Affairs, and we will let you know if that person meets the SAC COC requirements. We have to be very careful about the number of classes that are offered on some of your campuses because we can do up to 24% of a degree before we have to go through a pretty substantial progress with SAC COC. And if you would like to know what percentage your campus is approved for, you can send me an email. But I need to monitor that and make sure we don't go over the 24% or the 49% cutoffs. So we need to be aware of that. And the other thing is, if you will need any additional Jeff State instructors to come to your campus beyond what you've been doing this year, please let us know. I will begin working at the end of January with the department chairs to work on next fall's schedule, and we need to have a pretty good idea of what's coming down the pipeline so that we can provide as many instructors to y'all as we can. So are there any questions about these three things? I go by the 10-second rule. I wait 10 seconds and see if anybody has a question. So you can contact us. We're trying to get as many emails as possible sent directly to the dual enrollment at jeffersonstate.edu account. That way we only have one account to search through when we're looking for documentation or trying to find something and figure out what happened if something didn't happen, or those kinds of things. So we would ask that you send as many emails as possible to dual enrollment at jeffersonstate.edu. Now, when it deals with instructor qualifications, you can send those directly to me. And if you don't have my email address, let me know and I will get that to you. Matter of fact, I will type it in the messages when I'm finished with my part here. So Pam is our dual enrollment coordinator, and Greta Green is our dual enrollment recruiter. And I am the dual enrollment instructional specialist, which I deal with the academic side of things. So these are our phone numbers, and I will type my email address in here when I now that I'm finished. So thank you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Kiana Stevens. I'm one of the recruiters here at Jefferson State, along with my colleague Sonia Williams, and I'll be covering the admissions for first-time freshmen. I'll be pretty brief for the admissions. Later, we will have a more comprehensive presentation for you all, but today is going to be a more abbreviated. But if you do have any questions, feel free to put those in the chat and we'll be happy to answer those. But I'll go ahead and start with the admissions, scholarships, and some of our programs. So to apply, it is pretty simple. Students can go directly to the admissions website, which is jeffersonstate.edu/admissions. Or they can go directly to the Jefferson State website and click on the apply button and then apply as a first-time freshman. What we'll need is the online application and a primary identification. That's what we need up front. We'll need the official high school transcript after they graduate. We will need the graduation date listed on the transcript for it to be official and final. So make sure that their graduation date is listed and submitted after graduation. We do not require test scores for admission, so we do not need an ACT or SAT, and we do not have a GPA requirement. I know I get that question a lot, but we do not have those regarding admissions. For the high school transcript, it can be mailed to our enrollment services office here at the address on this slide, or students have the option of picking up a copy, a sealed unopened copy, and they can bring it to any one of our campuses with their ID. Or if you have the capabilities of sending it electronically through Parchment or another secure transcript service, that can be accepted as well. Just as a cost comparison, so our tuition compared to other institutions within the state, of course, down at the bottom, we are a fraction of the cost as most of these other institutions. For 2 years, if a student wants to take their general courses here with us, or if they're doing a 2-year program, they'll pay less than $8,000 for 2 years. So I think it's a great option, especially for students who may not know what they want to do, or they just want to take their general courses here at Jefferson State. I think it's a really great option. A lot of times Pell Grant will cover, if they qualify for Pell Grant, it'll cover their tuition. And then we have some phenomenal scholarships that cover full tuition as well. So if your students are ever wondering or concerned about cost, Jefferson State is a wonderful option. And like Pam said earlier, right now our tuition and fees are at $164 per credit hour, but that may be updated. So we'll make sure that you guys are updated for any changes in the credit hour cost. Guaranteed transfer. So of course, our biggest program is our transfer program. We do have partnerships with all of the four-year institutions in the state of Alabama. Any program that your student is interested in studying, we do have the STARS guide where students can see exactly what classes that they need to take that goes towards their degree. And of course, they'll work with their academic advisor here at Jefferson State so that they know and that they're taking the correct classes for that specific program. But their classes that they're taking with us are guaranteed to transfer and will go towards their degree. And I know we do have some students who may want to go out of state, but we do have a pathway with our Associates of Arts where they can take the classes they need for a specific program to an out-of-state school. Next slide, please. So our programs, of course, like I said, our transfer is our largest program, our transfer and general studies program. We also have our 2-year career professional programs. A lot of times that'll be 2 to 2.5 years. There are a couple of programs that are shorter, but if students are interested in doing a shorter program, they can look into our career professional ones. We also offer fast track programs. Most of the programs can be completed within 3 to 10 months, and they'll get a certification. And then with our fast track, they'll work with our workforce development office, and they can connect them with different companies that are looking for those in-demand certifications. So that is another option for students to take. And with those fast track programs, there are pathways to, if they want to continue to do a 2-year program, they have that option as well. We do offer on-campus, online, and then hybrid class options. So if a student is more comfortable online or if they want to do on campus, they do have a variety of options there. Our academic scholarships, so we have, so Pam talked about the dual enrollment scholarship, but we do have additional ones as well. Our presidential honors, our academic excellence, and then our counselor scholarship. All of them have different deadlines. So a presidential is April 1st, academic excellence is June 1st, and then the counselor scholarship is due July 31st. I do recommend that if students apply for presidential, that they apply for the academic excellence scholarship as well. We are only giving out certain number of scholarships. So if they don't get presidential, they may have the opportunity of getting the academic excellence. So definitely remind them and let them know to apply for multiple scholarships. These scholarships and the requirements can be found at jeffersonstate.edu/scholarships. And it's also where you can see our additional scholarships, such as our organizational scholarships and our Honor Society scholarships, which will be on the next slide. So for example, we have our student government, our ambassador program, Jeff State Singers, Scholars Bowl, speech and debate. We have athletic scholarships, and then those honor societies. All of those are listed out, plus more, on the Jefferson State Scholarships website below. They will have advisors information listed next to each one of those scholarships. So I recommend students to email those advisors to see what's the requirement. So for example, for Jeff State Singers, they'll have to do an audition. So I would definitely recommend that they reach out to see what those requirements are for those specific scholarships. And a lot of these, if not all of them, offer full scholarships. So if they're interested in those, they should definitely reach out. Or even to me or Sonia, doesn't matter. Our JSCC calendar, so for our upcoming summer and fall, if there are any students who are taking summer classes, summer registration starts on March 14th, and then the summer classes begin on May 25th. For our fall students, registration will do that at orientation. We will send out communication for those starting fall 2022 to sign up for fall orientation. Those orientations will start in June. And then we highly, highly recommend as students register for those so that they can get all the information that they need to be successful students here at Jefferson State. And we'll also make sure that they get registered for the classes that they need to register for. Fall classes will begin on August 17th, so right there in the middle of August. So we do look forward to having your students on campus for next year. Here's our mine and Sonia's contact information. Just for reference, I cover the Shelby and Chilton County schools. I know I've spoken to a couple of you here in the Zoom today, and I know you've probably heard from Sonia. Sonia covers the Jefferson and St. Clair counties. So if you fall under one of those counties, definitely reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to assist you or come to the school and talk to your students. We're more than happy to do that. So definitely reach out to us. We want to help your students as much as possible. So feel free to reach out. And I think that covers all of recruiting. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. This is Jacob Call. Again, so glad you're here. I'm the acting athletic director over the activities, and I also work with Sonia and Kiana as our recruiting coordinators. So just wanted to talk to you briefly about our athletics programs that we have here. So Jeff State has an intramural program, of course. Not doing a lot right now, of course, with the pandemic, but we do have positions on each of our campuses. We have a intramural scholarship position. So we have a spot for a student who, if you have somebody who's like a manager or something on one of your sports teams, this would be a great position for them. This is a full tuition scholarship to plan and help organize intramural competitions on their campus. And there's one of those for each campus. We also have men's and women's golf, men's and women's cross country, and men's and women's esports. And again, these all have full tuition scholarships to go with them. And we're planning to add tennis for the fall 2022 academic year. Right now, our golf program is the only one of our athletic programs that is using all of its scholarships. In cross country, we have another 20 scholarships that went unfilled. And in esports, we have 12 scholarships we could have given out this year that we were not able to find students to fill them. So if you know folks, or you have students who are looking for an academic option, who are involved in these, please let me know. My email is jcall@jeffersonstate.edu. I think this is our last call for questions if you have them. But if you don't have questions, thank you so very much for joining us. We are so grateful for your partnership. We're grateful that we can help you and help your students to find their place at Jefferson State Community College. So questions? Anyone or all? You can put them in the chat, or I believe you all can unmute yourselves.
I have a question. So just to clarify, will you all send out this scholarship information to us, or will it be on the website?
Great question, Patricia. I believe our scholarship office sent out much of that information this last week. It may have just gone to one of the counselors at the high schools. I know for many schools, we do have several counselors listed, and that is what we passed on to our financial aid office. I know that it was sent to Jane out of Shades Valley. That is
okay, well then
right?
that's perfect. She's the senior counselor. I just wanted to make sure. So that works.
Yep. If you didn't receive that, please send me an email. Again, it's jcall@jeffersonstate.edu. I guess we can turn our cameras back on now that the PowerPoint is over. But other questions? I'm going to actually change my name to be my email address to make it easier to find.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Jackson, Huffman High School. I came in a little late, so I want to piggyback on dual enrollment. I do have a couple of students who are interested in dual enrollment. So what's that application process like again, and how do they go about selecting the courses they'd like to take?
Okay, so to apply, they're going to go to jeffersonstate.edu/DE application and complete the online application. And I
Okay.
can send you this information too in an email, Mr. Jackson. I'll be happy
Okay.
to do that so you don't have to write it down.
Okay,
They're
great.
also going to need to complete a signature page. That'll list the classes they want to be registered into as well. It has to be signed by the student, a parent or guardian, and the counselor at the high school. And they will have to provide a transcript, high school transcript that shows that they have a minimum GPA 2.5 unweighted on a 4.0 scale.
Okay.
They'll have to provide a state issued ID. So either a permit, driver's license, a non-driver state ID, passport, any of those can be used. And then if they are doing a math or an English class, they'll have to provide placement scores. So that can be ACT, or if they have not taken the ACT or don't meet the ACT requirements, they can take the AccuPlacer at Jeff State.
Okay, and, I'm sorry, and you say the price, was there a price for Jeff State for dual
Yes,
enrollment?
so the price is, if they're taking a class either on our campus or online, it's $164 per credit hour.
Okay.
So most of the classes are 3 credit hours, so you're looking at $492 for a class.
Okay.
Unless they're taking one of those STEM classes or a class in one of the CTE programs covered by the scholarships.
Right.
If they are in a scholarship class, those scholarships cover tuition fees and textbooks.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And if there are others, we have recorded this. We will be uploading it to YouTube. Later this afternoon, we'll be sending it out probably Monday, I'm guessing, Pam. So you can catch up on what you missed as well. Well, probably, could we send them the PowerPoint too?
Yes.
Great.
We can do that.
Or you can have a quick reference as well. Other questions?
I do just want to mention, I know several schools have gotten a lot more interested in offering classes on their campuses in math. Now that we have that STEM scholarship, it does give your students a chance to get a college class for free. And really, these dual enrollment scholarships are better than most college scholarships when you take into account that you're also getting the textbook. So if that is something that you are interested in and you want to speak with us about that, Tyann and I are happy to come out to your school and talk to you about what that could look like. And again, like she said, if you have an instructor that you think might meet those requirements for SAC COC, she'll be happy to look at that, that instructor's transcript to start that process. But definitely, if you're thinking about adding classes on your campus or want to expand your offerings, we would love to talk to you about the best way to go about doing that. Any other questions before we sign off?
Maybe we should do it like we do with news and orientation. If there's no questions in the next 30 seconds, we're going to end the meeting. Because we've learned students will just sit there. I'm going to edit this out of the video.
All right. Well, I guess we will sign off. I hope you all have a wonderful Friday, a great weekend. Let us know what we can do to support you through dual enrollment and also with your seniors who are applying as freshmen either this summer or starting in the fall. And if we don't see you before, have a wonderful holiday season.